The Age of Revolutions, 1830 to 1848. As conservative regimes tried to consolidate their power, liberalism and nationalism came to be increasingly associated with revolution in many regions of Europe, such as the Italian and German states, the provinces of the Ottoman Empire, Ireland, and Poland. These revolutions were led by liberal nationalists belonging to the educated middle class elite, among whom were professors, school teachers, clerks, and members of the commercial middle classes. The first upheaval took place in France in July 1830. The Bourbon kings, who had been restored to power during the conservative reaction after 1815, were now overthrown by liberal revolutionaries who installed a constitutional monarchy with Louis Philippe at its head. When France sneezes, Metternich once remarked, the rest of Europe catches cold. The July Revolution sparked an uprising in Brussels which led to Belgium breaking away from United Kingdom of the Netherlands. An event that mobilized nationalist feelings among the educated elite across Europe was the Great War of Independence. Greek had been part of the Ottoman Empire since the 15th century. The growth of revolutionary nationalism in Europe sparked off a struggle for independence amongst the Greeks which began in 1821. Nationalists in Greece got support from other Greeks living in exile and also from many Western Europeans who had sympathies for ancient Greek culture. Poets and artists lauded Greece as the cradle of European civilization and mobilized public opinion to support its struggle against a Muslim empire. The English poet Lord Byron organized funds and later went to fight in the war, where he died of fever in 1824. Finally, the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832 recognized Greece as an independent nation. 3.1 The Romantic Imagination and National Feeling. The development of nationalism did not come about only through wars and territorial expansion. Culture played an important role in creating the idea of the nation. Art and poetry, stories and music helped express and shape nationalist feelings. Let us look at Romanticism, a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiment. Romantic artists and poets generally criticized the glorification of reason and science and focused instead on emotions, intuition, and mystical feeling. Their efforts was to create a sense of a shared collective heritage, a common cultural past as the basics of a nation. Other romantics, such as the German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder, 1744-1803, claimed that true German culture was to be discovered among the common people. Das Volk. It was through folk songs, folk poetry, and folk dances that the true spirit of the nation was popularized. So, collecting and recording these forms of folk culture was essential to the project of nation building. The emphasis of vernacular language and the collection of local folklore was not just to recover an ancient national spirit, but also to carry the modern nationalist message to large audience who were mostly illiterate. This was especially so in the case of Poland, which had been partitioned at the end of the 18th century by the great power Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Even though Poland no longer existed as an independent territory, national feelings were kept alive through music and language. Karol Krupnicki, for example, celebrated the national struggle through his operas and music, turning folk dances like the Polonaise and Mazurka into nationalist symbols. Language too played an important role in developing nationalist sentiments. After Russia's occupation, the Polish language was forced out of schools and the Russian language was imposed everywhere. In 1831, an armed rebellion against Russian rule took place, which was ultimately crushed. Following this, many members of the clergy in Poland began to use language as a weapon of national resistance. Polish was used for church gatherings and all religious instructions sent. As a result, a large number of priests and bishops were punished and put in jail or sent to Siberia by the Russian authorities as punishment for the refusal to preach in Russian. The use of Polish came to be seen as a symbol of struggle against Russian dominance. 3.2 Hunger, hardships, and popular revolt. In 1830s were years the 1830s were years of great economic hardship in Europe. The first half of the 19th century saw an enormous increase in population all over Europe. In most countries, there were more seekers of jobs than employment. Population from rural areas migrated to the cities to live in overcrowded slums. Small producers in towns were often faced with stiff competition from imports of cheap machine-made goods from England, where industrialization was more advanced than on the continent. This was especially so in textile production, which was carried out mainly in homes or small workshops and was only partly mechanized. In those regions of Europe where the aristocracy still enjoyed power, peasants struggled under the burden of feudal dues and obligations. The rise of food prices or a year of bad harvest led to widespread pauperism in town and country. The year 1848 was one such year. Food shortages and widespread unemployment brought the population of Paris on the roads. Barricades were erected and Louis Philippe was forced to flee. A National Assembly proclaimed a republic, granted suffrage to all adult males above 21, and guaranteed the right to work. National workshops to provide employment were set up. Earlier in 1854, I make correction. Earlier in 1845, weavers in Silesia had led a revolt against contractors who supplied them raw materials and gave them order for finished textile but drastically reduced their payments. The journalist Wilhelm Wolff described the events in a Silesian village as follows. In these villages, with 18,000 inhabitants, cotton weaving is the most widespread occupation. The misery of the workers is extreme. The desperate need for job has been taken advantage by the contractors to reduce the price of the goods they order. On 4th June at 2 p.m., a large crowd of weavers emerged from their homes and marched in pairs up to the mansion of the contractor demanding higher wages. They were treated with scorn and threats alternately. Following this, a group of them forced their way into the house smashed its elegant window panes, furniture, porcelain. Another group broke into the storehouse and plundered it of its supplies of cloth, which they tore to shreds. The contractor fled with his family to a neighboring village, which, however, refused to shelter such a person. He returned 24 hours later, having requestioned the army. In the exchange that followed, 11 weavers were shot.